Okay, perfect. So I'm Rosanna Michael, picking up from the last video on discipleship, chapter 4, testing the disciples. So it's us as modern day Israel, because there's different types of volunteers. So a lot of the time God does want us to choose to follow Him. But sometimes you get an impulsive person, sometimes you get a reluctant person, sometimes you get, what was the third one? Sometimes you get the half-hearted volunteer. So it sounds like one foot in the door, but one foot also out the door type of mentality or attitude. So the thing is Jesus does ultimately want us to be realistic about serving Him. So He is happy that we choose to follow and choose to serve Him, but He just wants us to be sure that when we do that, we're okay with being homeless, as in you're not necessarily living on the streets, but you are traveling as a missionary potentially, and you potentially might have to be open to different people who you don't know and their hospitality. So you're living in other people's homes as you travel and as you teach God's word. Are you open to that, or are you not open to that? Because realistically, if you're not willing to give up your home and your life that you can live now for whatever He's asking you to take on, then you should not volunteer to become a disciple. So the Bible does say not everybody will be a disciple, but it is saying that some people feel called to do it, have natural nature to be a disciple. Some people are called to be doctors and have their families, but they teach God's word on their feet as they are a doctor. As the situations arise, they talk about Jesus, which is wonderful. But this particular chapter talks about the impulsive volunteer and the reality that lines up with being an impulsive volunteer. So there's questions that I would ask from reading this chapter, that I would ask you as the person listening. Why do you think God, or Jesus, or it is God, why do you think God would question the person's heart as to whether they're impulsive or whether they've thought through the plan to follow God and be a disciple? And how would you have responded? If God had said, pick up your things and follow me, would you have done it? Would you have been impulsive? Or would you have said, I don't know, what would you expect from me? Those two things. Because in every situation that God asks someone to be a disciple, there will always be the question of impulsivity, rational, realistic. Does the person really want to? And then also from the other person's point of view, would you say yes or would you say no, and why?